this freedom, love. Let's enjoy this freedom, love. Get into this feeling.
Welcome to the Jamie London Clay Show, your soulful sanctuary. This is the space where you don't numb out, we get honest, we feel, we share, where we tell the truth with depth, process life with discernment, and keep it real without losing our humanity. I'm Jamie London Clay, your spiritual doula, truth bringer, and creative midwife. And this is Jamie Unfiltered, my commentary lane for my show here. This is not a sermon. It's not a coaching session. Just my perspective with clarity, conviction, and context. So breathe and get settled and let's talk. This is Jamie Unfiltered, truth with depth, clear, clean, uncut, saying it straight with a spirit-led perspective. Today's episode for Jamie Unfiltered, I'm going to step into episode 3 of the Reckoning series. The darkness, what wasn't said, but was felt, power, death, sacrifice, and the spiritual cost of an empire. Before we get this commentary on a public documentary and public allegations, I'm speaking from discernment and pattern recognition, not making legal claims. I'm approaching survivors with respect. Now, episode 3 is where my spirit got disturbed. And let me be honest with you, I had to stop halfway through episode 3. Not because it was graphic, but because my spirit was alerting me. This episode wasn't just telling a story, it was carrying an atmosphere. There were things the documentary didn't say, couldn't fully say, and maybe wasn't built to say, but the room shifted. And if you're spiritually sensitive, you felt that shift. This wasn't only manipulation, abuse, trauma, intimidation, exploitation. This felt like something deeper. Spiritual corrosion, systems hidden behind success, fear used as management, silence treated like loyalty, and the kind of darkness that doesn't just happen. It gets protected. And everything in my body said, this is the real story. The real story without saying what the real story is. They didn't say it, but your spirit heard it. When survivors spoke, their eyes said more than their mouths. Their pauses told stories they couldn't fully articulate. Their trembles carry weight that didn't match the words. And I kept noticing this. Some testimony wasn't just about what happened. It was about what they still feel unsafe to name. Because if you watched closely, you saw a detail they hinted at, then pulled back. A nervous swallow, a look off camera, a laugh masking trauma, a moment where the body tightened, a sentence that ended early, too early, because I had some questions and I couldn't ask all my questions wasn't answered. So I was left to interpret what my spirit felt. So my spirit was like, there's more. I know you felt it. I mean, we all know it anyway. We know we're not getting the full story. We know he's not in there for what he should be in there for. But what exactly is he in there for? So we all felt that there's more. There's a lot more. And not in a sensational way. In a very sober way. A very, you can't ignore this pattern in your face. Because power doesn't only harm people. Power trains people. It trains them to speak carefully. To survive strategically. To tell the truth in fragments, because full truth has a price. And episode 3 felt like proof that the price is still real. So the pattern of tragedy also felt too consistent to ignore. Let's be grown here. Let's be grown here. Episode 3 carried this shadow that kept showing up. Loss, tragedy, disappearance, erasure, silence. And I'm going to say this responsibly. I'm not here to list names and build theories, but I am going to name what many of us felt in our bodies. Some power ecosystems leave a trail, and the trail is not just headlines. It's how many lives get impacted around the same orbit. Episode 3 showed broken lives, broken spirits, broken dreams. People who got close to the flame and didn't leave unchanged. Stories that end with, and then we stopped talking about it. And what tightened my spirit was this. The documentary moved around certain things like it could only go so far. And that's when you remember, in healthy communities, tragedy produces truth, care, and accountability. In corrupt systems, tragedy produces reputation, protection, selective storytelling. They're still protecting them. Don't bring that up. Silence that feels enforced, not natural. So the question becomes, what kind of system requires silence to keep functioning? So the pattern of tragedy also felt too consistent to ignore. Let's be grown here. Let's be grown here. Episode 3 carried this shadow that kept showing up. Loss, tragedy. Kim Porter. The silence around her is loud. It's like it's silent. Don't talk about that. Don't believe the hype. But it's done nothing but make it loud. You can't ignore. So let's talk about Kim Porter. Carefully and respectfully. First, facts matters. Okay. Kim Porter's death was ruled lobar pneumonia, natural causes. I'm saying that plainly because I'm not turning grief into rumor. And her children have publicly pushed back on false narratives, including that fake memoir situation. So, not really interested in doing internet chaos. But I am allowed to name something true at the same time. Even with official findings, the collective tension around her story has remained heavy for many people, including myself. And episode 3 referenced her, but lightly, too lightly for the weight of her name carries in public memory. So here's what I'll say. Sometimes the loudest thing isn't an accusation. It's the carefulness. It's how conversations shift when certain names enter the room. And Black America is not wrong for having historical discernment, because we've lived through real examples of deception, targeting, and cover-ups. COINTELPRO was really real. It was a thing. Tuskegee was real. Flint was real. The hip-hop police, as they called them, was real and is real. I don't think they're even dissolved at all. So if someone says something doesn't sit right, I'm not quick to label them crazy. I call it historical intelligence. Not everything is provable publicly, but everything is recorded somewhere. And spiritually, truth does not disappear just because it can't be litigated. Elite networks, gatekeeping, and spiritual agreements with silence. In episode 2, we talked about power, access, protection, gatekeeping. So if you haven't checked out that episode, the link will be in the description, but check it out. Episode 2, this is episode 3. Episode 3, where we've sharpened the spiritual layer. How elite circles, can't get the word out. How elite circles of any kind can create cover. Elite circles are everywhere, in every industry, in every part of life. People throw around the boule as shorthand for Black elite networks. There's real historical context there, but my point isn't a name. My point is a pattern. When any circle, industry, political, religious, cultural, values loyalty over truth, it becomes spiritually dangerous, because now success becomes God and silence becomes the offering. And you start seeing people used and replaced, victims treated like collateral, truth tellers punished, predators being protected, and communities told to be quiet for the culture. and I'm going to say it straight. Black excellence cannot become Black insulation. If the cost of protecting our own is sacrificing truth, then we're not building legacy. We're repeating captivity in a new costume. Sexual exploitation wasn't just scandal. It was spiritual corruption. Just for those, disclaimer here. This is about sexual exploitation. Abuse is going to be discussed here. So if you're sensitive to that kind of content, you might want to excuse yourself, or maybe you can stick around. Episode 3 points to accounts and allegations that reflect sexual control, coercion, grooming dynamics, humiliation as leverage, exploitation of vulnerability. And I need you to hear this. That kind of harm isn't only misconduct, it's identity theft. Because trauma like this doesn't just injure bodies. It fractures a person's relationship with themselves. And the reason it can feel ritual-like to viewers is because when harm becomes patterned, protected, and repeated, it becomes a system. Not random, not accidental, a structural or a structure. And the darkest part isn't only what happened. It's what the system required after. Silence, shame, isolation, and the normalization of violation. This isn't primarily a sex issue. This is a power issue. And spiritually, it's an assault on dignity, innocence, and truth. This wasn't a spiral. This was spiritual decay. Say it plainly. There are behaviors the human mind cannot justify without a long-term agreement with the darkness. And I don't mean movie theatrics. I mean conscious dying slowly, empathy collapsing, power becoming addiction, people becoming objects, and truth becoming a threat. That's spiritual decay. Episode 3 felt like watching what happens when somebody is no longer led by truth, but by their appetite, their need for domination and control. And it's not just trauma. It's what trauma can produce when it gets mixed with influence, money, and protection. Here's the part people are afraid to say. Here's the truth. What I believe the truth is. There is more that didn't make it into the documentary. Not because every single person is lying, but because fear is real. NDAs are real. Reputation systems are real. There are stories people won't attach their name to. Witnesses who refuse to speak publicly. People who know pieces but don't feel safe connecting the dots. Elites protecting themselves. Truths that may never be fully proven in public, but God knows. And episode 3 is where spiritually the scales tipped. Because when the atmosphere becomes undeniable, you can't keep calling it rumor. Rumors for years, for decades. You have to call it what it is. A system that trained people to survive by silence. So episode 3 wasn't information. It was confirmation. Everything you felt growing up, everything the culture whispered, everything your spirit clocked but couldn't fully explain, episode 3 confirmed. This isn't just a man. This is a system. A protection system. A silence system. A power system. And I'm going to end this with sometimes judgment is spiritual before it's legal. Not because we celebrate downfall, but because truth surfaces when a system can't hold its own weight anymore. This is Jamie, Unfiltered. And this needed to be said, whether you liked it or not. Next on the Reckoning series, episode 4. This will be the last episode of this series, The Reckoning. I had to get this off my chest. I wanted to start here with my whole revamp of everything. The Reckoning, episode 4 for me. What the courts couldn't touch already, God has already judged. So we're going past the headlines and into what accountability really means spiritually, culturally, and personally. Because some things never make it to court, but they're never hidden in the spirit. So subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss it. Because episode 4 connects the dots, the system avoids, and we're just watching. We're just discerning. And just talking. Well, that's my perspective, and I'm staying on it. Okay? If this episode put language to something you've been feeling, if it confirmed what your spirit has been picking up, don't keep it to yourself. Like this video. Share it with someone who can handle the depth. Please leave your comments in the comment section. I would love the engagement. Even if you think differently than me, I welcome you. Just please be respectful. You respect me, I respect you. We all respect each other. All human beings deserve respect. In the words of Miss Aretha Franklin, the Queen of Soul. Alright. Subscribe to the Jamie London Clay Show and turn on notifications so you don't miss what's next. And comment. Don't forget to comment. Tell me what disturbed you most about episode 3 and why. Follow for more in the Soulful Sanctuary. Don't forget to check me out for Jamie Unfiltered every week. Empower Me, Empower You is my bi-weekly empowerment coaching show. Dear Jamie is once a month. Send in your questions. The link will be in the bio or description. And Lady Soul Entertainment, I'm getting ready to release some things. Get this singing thing on the road. Kind of sing out loud online a little bit more. Then also sharing more of my live performances. Again, this is Jamie London Clay. This is Jamie. Well, that's